think Marvin, in so many ways, embodies the American dream.
Brownsville, Tennessee is a very small town.
Really poor in a neighborhood where they didn't even have running water.
His family, parents worked multiple jobs in order to support a family of 7.
So very, very humble beginnings. But he had learned so much from his parents, and staying committed to whatever you said you were going to do, that you did, and you followed through on that, and that you could be anything you wanted to be.
It's just a unique journey that he has been on. Being a part-time seasonal associate making $4.35 an hour while he was in college.
He learned all of the promotions that eventually led him to be the EVP of Home Depot. Recruited away to take up Penny's top position, and then from Penny's to be the CEO of Lowe.
Marvin's first day on the job wasn't coming to the corporate office, but it was working in the stores. When the new CEO spends his first days in the store rather than showing up at the corporate headquarters, it's a pretty strong message.
He understands the importance of us knowing what is actually going on.
His thoughts are demonstrated in his actions.
And I think the thing that separates Marvin from so many other people is that Marvin Ellison is steeped in humility. And that humility comes through as a leader, and it's a very rare characteristic.
It reminds us all of the success we can achieve. Even if obstacles are put in our way, we can still get there because he's a living story.
And he wants to try as best he can to share his story and the achievements he has, not for himself, but for others, to create the path forward for those people who can follow in his footsteps.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage President of Merchant Services U.S. for American Express and a member of the Lowe's Board of Directors, Colleen Taylor.
Marvin has inspired incredible change. He began his retail career as a part-time $4.35 an hour store security office. At 2018, as its CEO, Lowe's has more than 2,200 stores and more than 300,000 associates. Two things have impressed me about Marvin. He's done just about every job there is to do in retail. And because of that, he's not afraid to don the red vest, get in there, and help out in the stores when he's in the market. And he loves going to the market. And number two, he focuses in on building a great people culture where employees feel valued, everyone knows the game plan, and that's the total home strategy. And everyone at Lowe's wants to win the hearts and minds of each customer who walks through the door or who shops at the Lowe's website. Oh, by the way, he's a lot of fun as well. Please welcome to the stage NRF President and CEO Matt Shay and the visionary honoree, Lowe's Chairman and CEO Marvin Ellison.
Well, hey, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here, and it's always great to, Matt, to be with you and NRF, and we're looking forward to a really good discussion. I started out as a $4.35 an hour part-time store associate at Target in Memphis, Tennessee, and over a 30-year period, you became the chairman and CEO of two Fortune 500 companies. So if you look at this, man, you're thinking this is a seamless, flawless ascent, from the starting level to this, really pinnacle of corporate success, and it's been just seamless, but it's been anything but that. It was really challenging. I call it a blessed but challenging career because I'm blessed to be here, and not too many people that look like me have the fortune to be the CEO of two Fortune 500 companies. But within that 30-year time frame, there's been at least 12 times that I was up for promotion opportunities that I knew about that I didn't get. And every one of those situations put me in a position of what do I do next? And as I thought about how do I achieve the level of success that I would like to have, without having an elite education from a prestigious education institution, I went back and got my master's years later that provided something that looked a little better on paper. And also not having any executive sponsors with great influence or connections. I just realized that the key for me was to just take tough assignments. And so, as I noted last night, for the last 25 years, every job, including the one I am in today, that I've accepted, I replaced somebody who was fired or pushed out. And that means that you're on nobody's succession plan. That's the kind of the simplest way to think about it. And so when the question is, why did you decide to take on those types of challenges? And oftentimes those were jobs and those were opportunities that other people felt that the risk was not worth the potential reward to take it. But I would raise my hand because it was my way to make a contribution to the company. It was my way to demonstrate, my ability to lead, my ability to build teams, and my ability to hopefully, be an essential leader within the organization. I've been very fortunate, through God's grace and blessings, that those assignments that I took over that 25-year time frame, I've been successful, but it's been because I had a really good core group of people around me, both personally and professionally.
I think that is all true, and you're very humble and modest to continue to sort of give credit to other people. But you also very clearly have a vision. And
yeah, man, so let me take you back. So as you noted, I joined Lowe's back in 2018. And so the first thing that we had to do as a leadership team is we had to go and look at the root causes of why we were not performing relative to the marketplace and our chief competitors. And then that took me bringing in some really talented leaders across a lot of different positions: a new CIO, a new head of merchandising, new head of stores, new head of e-commerce, new head of supply chain, new CFO. And all these changes, as you and I were discussing, took place within the first 4 months of me arriving. So think about the disruption that occurred within a company that large, and you're making these level of changes. But it was required because we needed to figure out what were the root causes of why we were not performing at the level we should. And so from that, we came to the realization that we needed what we coined the phrase retail fundamentals. And I describe those as, what are the things that great retailers globally do really well? And they do really well in product selection, in supply chain, in operational efficiency, engaging the customer. And so we went back to the basics and said, okay, let's attack these fundamental issues. When you say, well, that sounds really basic, well, let me give you a fundamental. In 2018, fundamentally, you want to have an e-commerce site that can perform, in a very efficient way, and you can add SKUs and you can meet the demands of the customer. Well, the first thing that happened to us in 2018 is our site crashed on Black Friday. And so when you start to look underneath, why would that happen? It was very simple. The entire e-commerce site was on a decade-old platform. And so we immediately realized that one of the retail fundamental things we had to do was get that site on the cloud so that we would not have the volume limitations, and we could also have the ability to make the necessary updates and changes as any modern retailer should do. So we went to work on the fundamentals, and we were very fortunate that the time that we spent focusing on retail fundamentals allowed us, when the pandemic hit, to meet the incredible demand surge that we saw, because all of us were confined to our homes. And the home became not only a residence, it became your workplace, became your school, became your #1 location for recreation and entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. And if we had not made those investments in retail fundamentals, it would have been a catastrophically bad environment for our customers and for us as a company. And so after we were able to make those foundational things, and I always tell people, the most important part of a construction project is the foundation. It isn't glamorous, it isn't sexy, but it requires, the level of work that you put in so that you can build a structure quickly and the structure can be stable. And so because of the foundations were first, and then we actually questioned, how do we now take market share? And we came up with a total home strategy with the simple philosophy that you should be able to get everything for your home, goods and services, either in-store or online at Lowe's. So how do we make that a reality? And so we put the investments in place in things like installation services, continuing to improve our online and omnichannel capabilities, merchandising, selection, and making sure that we're serving both our pro and DIY customers at the highest possible level. And so these are the things we're working on. We're getting really good progress. We feel great about our business. Even in the midst of higher inflation and interest rates, we still feel great about the segment we operate in and think that we can perform well.
You know, there aren't too many guys that look like you that have run 2 Fortune 500 companies. Can you talk about that dimension?
Yeah, I grew up as you know, and you all saw in the video, a little small town in the South. And, you know, I've said it many times, I could go outside in my front yard and look to the north, south, east, and west and see nothing that looked like success. But my parents were incredibly influential in my life. And my greatest influences came from a dad who never graduated from high school and a mother who was a maid at a truck stop hotel. But they were individuals that believed that their children could be anything that we wanted to be if we put God first, focus on education, and work hard. So those were kind of the 3 pillars of the mission for success my parents gave us. And so for me, as I started to maneuver my career, I oftentimes would find myself being the only black person in the room, the only person in the corporate office who had spent time in the store. So I was the only this, only that. And I would struggle early in my career trying to fit in. And what I came to the realization is, why am I trying to fit in when I need to stand out? And so I decided that my greatest attribute was to be the best, most authentic version of myself. And that is to take what God has given me in my ethnicity and my background, and how do I leverage that to allow me to be an effective leader, but a leader that may attack things uniquely. And so part of that is what I challenge my team, is when we bring you in, I'm bringing you in because I want your unique, diverse ability to help us to solve problems. And so when I joined Lowe's and walked into my first staff meeting, I didn't need a consultant to tell me that we had a diversity problem. I didn't need a consultant to tell me when I looked at my officer group and I looked at just the overall decision makers in the company that we need to do something different. And so we became intentional about going out and finding men and women that brought not only ethnicity and a diversity of thought, but they also brought a diversity in who they were as individuals, because that's what our customers look like. And at the end of the day, the management teams of any company, retail in particular, we owe it to ourselves to make sure that the decision makers reflect the customer base that we're trying to serve. And so from that, we've been able to build an incredibly diverse team. That's my executive leadership team, executive vice presidents. We're 50% ethnically diverse and 25% female, and the board is 45% ethnically diverse and 33% female, Colleen Taylor being one of our newest board members. And it's not because we're trying to check any box, not because we're trying to get any, acclaim or recognition, is because I just believe, and when you bring people in the room from unique backgrounds that have talents, and you give them the freedom to be the best, most authentic version of themselves, what I struggle with early parts of my career is going to just give you great decision-making ability and capabilities, and that's what we try to do every day. Yeah, I wish I heard that when I was coming up.
I think I told you this.
Because one of the things that would always be puzzling to me is when I would look at decisions companies, management teams would make on promotions and advancement, because I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. I was always curious about what's the criteria? How are we selecting these people? And so whenever I join a company, the first question I'll ask the HR team is kind of what's our criteria to identify exceptional leaders? And when we promote people, what are we looking at? What are some of the core behaviors? And what we decided to do at Lowe's was to be very transparent. And so we basically published, to the company, to every associate, these are the core behaviors we look for leaders who will advance and grow their careers here. It's things like deliver consistent results, continue to learn, take care of the customers, take action, and be courageous. I mean, these are not these are not extraordinary things, but they're things you have to do consistently. And I challenge the folks within my company, if you see someone promoted or that is given advancement opportunities and they're not living up to these core behaviors, you need to call me on it, because that's inconsistent with what we're trying to do as a company. And so this is the way that we try to recruit talent, both diverse and non-diverse, but then this is how we try to retain them. We try to retain them by a level of transparency around here's what we want to do and here's how we expect you to do it. And when people do those things the right way, then we reward them. And again, we are not perfect, but this is something that I am very passionate about.
How would you describe, as we get into 2023, how was the holiday season? What's the state of the consumer? What do you think the year ahead looks like? How are people going to be engaging in commerce?
Sure, as you said, we're a little counter-cyclical in retail because our core season is not November, December. It's the spring season that's coming up right now, because all of us have been in our homes, specifically in the north, managing through winter, and then the moment the sun comes out, that's when we come outside, we spruce up the yards, we update our patio furniture, our grills, we paint, we do all the things for our home. And so, believe it or not, the two largest sales volume months for us is April and May, not November and December. So that's really our holiday season. And even right now, though it's quite chilly outside, there are parts of the U.S. in the South and in the West that's already in spring, and so we're starting to see that business perform. As we look at 2023, we believe that there will be parts of the macro environment that we're going to see some type of a slowdown. We don't see some big, massive economic shock. We don't see anything that we believe is going to be a big, massive recession or economic downturn for the year. Specifically for home improvement, the demand drivers of our business are still incredibly strong. And one of the things, as you and I were chatting, that I do is try to create a distinction in the marketplace between new home construction and home improvement. They're two very different things, and the demand drivers are uniquely different. When you look at home improvement, there are a couple of things that drive our demand: the age of homes, home price appreciation, and basically the balance sheet of the consumer. And the average age of the homes in the U.S. is 40 years old, which is the oldest since World War II. From a home price appreciation standpoint, the average home in America has roughly $330,000 in equity built into it. And even today, with the higher interest rates, we're still roughly 2 million homes short of consumer demand. So you have older homes, you have a home shortage, and you have home values and home price appreciation up. And although again there's micro challenges, there's still roughly $1.5 trillion in excess savings in the banking accounts of consumers, primarily homeowners, than pre-pandemic. So all of those factors point real well to home improvement. And the distinction between home building is driven primarily by interest rates and prices. And those things do not have negative correlations for home improvement. So having said all of that, we are very optimistic that the home improvement market for 2023 is going to remain strong.
We talked a lot about stores and real estate, how the environment 5 years ago, every headline that we read was about the retail apocalypse and the end of stores as we know it, and it's all about e-commerce and digital, and maybe it is about digital.
Yeah.
But can you just talk about the role of real estate and the store central to the retail experience?
Absolutely. Well, Matt, I believe, and you also Fred Smith on the video, the founder and chairman of FedEx, and Fred and I have discussed this a lot over the years, that the essential competitive advantage of a brick and mortar retail is your physical stores and your employees that work in those stores. And for us, with over 22,000 physical retail sites, we literally have 2,200 physical retail sites. We essentially have 2,200 distribution centers connected to our domestic and global supply chain. You may think next day delivery sounds great unless you got a bursted pipe. And next day delivery doesn't sound nearly as good to you at that moment. at that moment you need same hour delivery. And so the ability for us to have stores domestically, we can do a buy online, pick up in store, curbside, that customer can be there within an hour to get an emergency order. Or now we have over 30,000 SKUs that we can deliver within an hour with a partnership with Instacart. But we can't do that without our stores, because those stores are the essential node that will pick and get that product ready, either for the customer to come in and pick it up, or for us to do a quick, gig network type delivery, and they are essential. The key for us was creating what we call this omnichannel network, where everything's connected, and everything connects to the store, and the stores connect to online, and online connects to the supply chain. So we can make a decision based on the location of the store, the location of a supply chain facility, to get that product to the customer in the most efficient way. And that cannot happen without the essential availability of the stores. And I have believed that even during the retail apocalypse discussions, that the essential competitive advantage of retail is, do you have brick and mortar stores, and can you connect those stores digitally to your online site? Because what we learned during the pandemic is that the one thing the customer will demand from this point on is convenience, but convenience without friction. They want it seamless, they want to get in and out fast, whether that's an in-store or online transaction, and they want that to be simple, and they want that to be convenient. And so for us, the stores make that a reality.
In addition to the commitment to your teams and your associates, you've also made big commitments to the communities in which your stores are located, in which you've got a physical presence. You've invested millions of dollars in serving those communities. And how do you think about the role of the retail industry and the unique role that retailers can play in serving communities that distinguishes retail maybe from other kinds of industries?
Well, Matt, I've had the firm belief when people ask me to describe my job. I tell them I get out of bed every day with three things I'm trying to accomplish, and that is, can I create a great place for my associates to work? Can I give the customers a wonderful place to shop? And can I make my communities better? And the unique thing about retail is that we have stores in the community, and our employees work and live in those communities. They go to church, they're part of civic organizations, their kids go to school. And so the question is how can we be an essential part of making those communities better? And one of the things that we decided to do at Lowe was to make a commitment for 5 years that we're going to commit $100 million in community grants for a variety of things. I mean, some of the things that I've seen, like, an old downtown theater that's been condemned, they wanted to bring it back up so that the kids would have a performing arts center. A VFW, a retirement community. I mean, so many different things that we write grant checks for that have nothing to do with home improvement, they have everything to do with the communities, and that's just the beginning, because there are a lot of other things that we do from a philanthropic perspective, specifically on affordable housing and trying to make sure that we're trying to expand vocational education. Because I believe that if a child decides not to go to college, they should have opportunities to build a career and a skill in a trade that is noble and that is in high demand. And the last time I checked, I can't get or download an app to fix my leaking sink or to fix a faulty electrical outlet. You need an electrician and you need a plumber. And so we're pushing hard to get vocational education back up and going as an alternative to college for kids that either can't afford it or just want to do something different. But that's all part and parcel to making our communities better.
Well, maybe that's a great place to leave it. But Marvin, thanks. Congratulations again on being honored last night as the visionary. Thank you for being here this week, for all you do for the industry, and for being a great friend and partner. Please join me in a warm welcome for thank you.